O'clock. My name is Maya Hasagawa, and I'm acting chair for this meeting. And we have a quorum. We're going to appoint alternate David Whittle to hear the case. And I have to read the chair's remarks. And you guys have to, the three of you have to be sworn in. At the DRB, we hear applications for land development in the town of Brattleboro and appeals of zoning administrator decisions. Procedurally, the Development Review Board operates on the record. Broadly, this means that we take a clear record of testimony from the applicant and any interested parties and then issue a written decision with her findings. Applicants and members of the public should be aware that as we are on the record, this is your opportunity to comment on and provide evidence relating to an application. In the event our decision is appealed to the environmental court, the court will not take or consider additional testimony at its hearings, but will look at the evidence from our hearing, the regulations, and determine if the evidence supports the findings and the decisions of this board. Only interested persons that participate in this procedure may appeal the decision made by the board, so I strongly encourage you to speak up. As we are on the record, we are going to ask that you affirm that your testimony will be truthful. So if you all would stand. I hereby affirm that the evidence I give in the cause under consideration shall be the whole truth and nothing but the truth, under the pains and penalties of perjury.
I do.
Applicants required a majority of the full board to succeed. That's 4 votes out of 7. If we do not have a full board present to hear your application, then we will consider a request to continue our application to the next public meeting. So we now have 5. And I believe James said he would view the video if we have a split decision.
That's correct.
Applicants require, let's see, I read that. After taking testimony, the board will close the public hearing and may vote on your application. The board will issue a written decision within 45 days of the close of the hearing. While we may vote on an application, it is the written decision that controls the timeline for appeal. It should be noted that the town of Brattleboro is a party with an interest in land development applications. The town does not have a special status before this board. Documents provided to the board by the town planning department, town attorney, or other town departments will be considered in exactly the same way as information from the applicant and all other interested parties. So, you want to start? Oh, I have to say, was this properly warned?
It was, and then you should just verify if there's any conflicts. Any conflicts of
Anybody have a
interest?
conflict?
Next birthday?
Well, thanks for having us. My name is Adam Hubbard, and I have been consulting with Delta Business Campus, and this is Jim Spencer, the facilities manager for the Delta Business Campus, or Omega Industries. Again, thanks for meeting on an unusual date. I commend you guys for getting through that last meeting. I was unable to sustain that endurance. So what we have here is the Delta Business Campus, which I hope you're all familiar with, is located on the Brattleboro-Guilford town line, and is accessed off Paul's Road, which I believe actually starts in Guilford. So if you go down Route 5 and then turn up Paul's Road, you'll get up to the Delta Business Campus. The purpose of us coming is to get site plan approval and Act 250 review. This is an Act 250 parcel, and we're asking for your consideration of municipal impact. basically as it pertains to criteria 6, 7, and 10. Municipal services, conformance with the town plan, and educational services impact. The original PUD was approved in 2004, I believe, and approved as it was approved with the Omega filter production facility and a master plan that included a wide array of buildings and uses within the PUD, but mostly related to industrial, light industrial, and residential. This parcel is 2¼ acres and is located right at the beginning. This is the end of Paul's Road here. There's a hammerhead at the end of Paul's Road, and at that point, you enter the Delta Business Campus on a private road. I think that's called Dillon Way at that point.
Omega Drive.
Omega Drive.
No, actually, Dylan.
Is it Dylan?
And then it switches to Omega, maybe just past this as it loops around the circle that organizes a lot of these parcels. As originally envisioned, this parcel, this 2¼ acre parcel, had a placeholder of a 25,000 square foot building and associated impervious surfaces for parking. It wasn't designed, it was speculated, and coverages were accounted for stormwater purposes and for the idea that this would be built out in the future. So today we're here for 2 light industrial buildings. One would be, is hoped to be the home of Vermont Photonics, which is another testing of optical filter. Is that correct description? They would like to rent a 4,500 square foot building. And through the site development of this, the owner would like another 4,500 square foot building built in the same manner and architectural style. Each of those buildings has associated parking. This one has 9 spaces and this one has 7 spaces. Additionally, the owner sees a need for parking, additional parking on the campus. Currently, parking demands have been met with existing parking lots, and there's a need for more parking and future need for parking, it's hoped. So in addition to the 2 buildings and their associated parking, we're proposing 24 spaces that are aligned with this building. And those 24 spaces are proposed to be covered with solar panels. The solar panels are going to be mounted, at this point we think they're going to be mounted on poles with an array of 6 panels, I
I
think.
think it was 13.
Say it again?
13.
13. Each pole would have 13 panels, and you would park in between the posts. The organization of this lot is constructed in such a way for delivery trucks. There are a few drivers, one being solar orientation, one being topography, and one being the easy access for delivery trucks. At this time, we think that the deliveries are mostly going to consist of UPS trucks. Vermont Photonics tests, filters the size of a quarter, more or less. They're not going to be tractor-trailer trucks. Future use may dictate differently, so we've organized the access for trucks to be able to do two different movements. You could pull a truck in up off Paul's Way, hit Dillon Way, turn. If you make this left-hand turn, you would come down to Commonwealth Dairy, and trucks currently make that turning movement down into the delivery area of Commonwealth. These trucks could potentially turn and then back up to a loading dock on this building. Subsequently, building trucks accessing the proposed Photonics building could pull in next to a truck park here and then back around and hit a loading dock at the west side of that building. There are You know, we're here for, so site plan approval. We want to talk about landscaping, lighting, stormwater, vehicular access. The stormwater, as originally permitted in the Act 250 and state stormwater permit, allowed for 1.6 acres of impervious on the site. We're currently at about 32,000 square feet of impervious. The existing stormwater infrastructure consists of a swale, a dry swale running along Dillon Way, getting to a collection area, entering a outlet structure, and then crossing the road and discharging into the waterway. We've proposed enhancing that dry swale and landscaping it. And these would be bioswales with sort of treatment capability, consisting mostly of native plants and edibles. There's kind of a desire to provide sort of edible plants for wildlife and perhaps people, but the idea is nice to have native and edible plants and treat stormwater runoff. The access, all the geometry of the access allows for emergency vehicles to access both sides of the building. The ladder truck could access these just as it's designed for a tractor trailer truck. All the turning movements are consistent with the standards set forth in the zoning code. The setbacks, the PUD has its own setback requirements, which are 10 feet on internal property lines, 50 feet if you are at the edge, at the perimeter of the PUD, of which this is not. This is abutted by conservation. This parcel on the south and east is conservation land, and these parcels are internal parcels slated for future development. The buildings conform to those 10-foot internal setbacks. What else can I tell you? Lighting, as you'll see in a diagram that was presented subsequent to the original application, there are four pole-mounted, the manufacturer is called RAB lights. They're LED, full cutoff shielded lights. 14 foot here, at the corner here, at this corner, and along the road there. And then there are building mounted lights at each, mounted at 10 feet high at each entrance and each loading dock. And this building, we expect will be one at this end of the building. So lighting, landscaping, vehicular access, parking. What else can I tell you about this?
Snow removal?
Snow storage. Each of the parking lots are designed with the ability to push snow right through the parking lot. This will be a little more challenging where you'll push it off to the side. You'll be able to push it off to the side along this.
Adam, is Dillon Road a one-way?
And
Omega one-way coming out?
Dillon Road is one way, once you pass the.
I guess it is, yeah, that's right.
I think it's designed to be one way. Occasionally trucks will back up at Commonwealth and people will come down the other way, but it's designed as one way road.
The snow coming off the solar panels, how do you know where it's gonna go?
It would, well, two of the rows of solar panels would dump onto non-paved areas. It's this one row here that it would shed into your access lane and you would push through.
Okay.
We had explored the idea of mounting it on carports, full covered carports, but determined that just the pole mounted, they won't be waterproof, but they'll be shaded and mostly water resistant. For Act 250, well, yeah, I'll just touch on Act 250. The uses and site plan are consistent with the original permit, and the impacts to educational services aren't expected to be significant. we're not expecting this is not a residential project, and there's not a large influx of jobs that would drive school impact. The municipal services, fire, rescue, waste management will be handled privately. All those, we're not gonna increase traffic significantly. We're not fronted on a public road. The increase in traffic associated with these two uses amounts to about 30 one-way trips, or 60 total trips, 64 total trips a day, depending on which model you use, whether it's a building square footage or a use, other use calculations. That impact down on Route 5 is considered to be negligible, where there are thousands of cars a day.
I'm just thinking.
So
Oh, I see, the trash receptacle areas are adjacent to the both loading docks?
that's correct. Yeah.
So I have a couple questions on the traffic. You're gonna come in, a truck is going to come in the wrong way on a one-way?
No,
And
this
then
is
back across?
no, this is one way this way. So they're gonna pull in this. They could do it either way. Actually, they could potentially pull into the site and back up to this loading dock. We've sort of anticipated that the easier movement would be to turn in to this wide turnaround and then back up to that loading dock. For this loading dock, it would be easier to pull up next to this truck and then back along this building.
I got it now.
Yeah. It's preferable for tractor trailers to be able to locate themselves on the driver's side mirror. And so if you do make this maneuver in here and you're trying to hit this loading dock, you're using your passenger side mirror backing up this one, so it's a little more challenging. As is this, entry. The traffic on Dillon Way is not substantive that trucks backing across this will create a conflict. In fact, trucks queuing up for Commonwealth often occupy various spaces around here, and the sort of passenger cars just maneuver around.
So,
I think that's about it. We could tell you a little bit about the building types. They're pitched roof. Again, this one was oriented with a south-facing sloped roof. They are 612? 612 trusses, probably be asphalt shingled.
Actually, we're talking about doing a rubber roof one.
A rubber roof.
612?
We just did a 12-12. It was difficult, but we did.
It's going to be shiplap siding, super insulated, high efficiency lighting and plumbing fixtures. It's going to meet the, this is an Act 250 permit, so it needs to meet the commercial building energy standards.
Is it peaked in the middle, or?
Yes.
Okay. Handicap accessible.
Evan, what's the total count for parking spaces?
39. In response to some of the fire department memo, they requested a fire hydrant. There is an existing fire hydrant here that's served by the domestic water supply of the campus. Our proposal is going to include extending municipal utilities further. Currently, the municipal, there's another hydrant here with municipal supply. So there's actually two hydrants that can serve both of these buildings. We're talking about extending the municipal line further into the property and using municipal water and sewer, not using the campus supply. There's currently 37,000 gallons plus of allocation. The Omega Optical has used maybe 4,000 gallons per day of that allocation, so there's ample allocation available.
So when the chief says a hydrant at the corner of Dillon and Lincoln Way, where is he talking about?
He's talking about this hydrant here.
That hydrant there?
Yeah. Lincoln Way turns off of Dillon Way and loops around to the north there.
I guess I didn't know that.
There really isn't anything up there, is there? It's not developed at this point.
It's not developed. We hope to be before you again sometime soon for other ideas up there. On this plan, you can see what looks to be maybe a building filter, but it's a remnant foundation slab. There was a building here that was moved over for the Aspire. I don't know if it was on that slab, I think it was just near here. The Aspire school had, I don't think they're there anymore.
No, they're on the Austin campus now.
So they also said that no parking should be allowed in any area except in the marked spaces because of the access for fire emergency vehicles.
Right, and deliveries. So it's important that people not park irregularly, but park in the marked spaces.
So will it be, there'll be signage saying no parking?
I would say that it would be, if it's an issue, it would be signed as such. But, you know, it's actually an over wide road along here. I don't foresee that it's an issue because there's parking beyond the demand that we expect originally or initially, and there's very wide roads here. So I don't foresee a conflict. If there was one, we would enact a policy including signage to prohibit parking that would obstruct emergency vehicles.
And are the buildings gonna be signed?
Yeah, there'll be a building, our intention is when tenants come to occupy the building, they'll have desires for their signs at that point. We're gonna come before Brian, we're gonna come to Brian for a sign permit.
What is Vermont Photronics? What's their process?
You want me to shoot?
Sure.
Okay, so some of the optical filters that we deal with, it isn't just what Bob does where you're separating what nanohertz of light come through the filter. So there's some filters that we have worked with. There's one that has actually like 3 different filters attached to it. You look into it, no matter how you look at it, you're seeing yourself directly. That particular filter was designed to go on the moon when they landed up there so they can laser it and have the laser come directly back. And what Vermont Photonics, that's an extreme example, but what they do is they test perfection of the filter. So with laser and mass spectrometers, they will read the filter to see how perfect that flat is.
So they're only testing it, they're not
They
manufacturing?
don't manufacture anything. The volume that goes through is very small. I think the most I've ever had for people in that building was 5. I don't see that changing. I think they're covering their need very well. So they aren't going to be a high impact in any way.
Okay.
I have to say I like the edible plants. I think that's
It's much for the birds and the
yeah,
animals as it is for people, but we already have apple trees out there when people are hungry. And but I want to take it further to gooseberries, huckleberries, so there's many of them. So.
anything else?
Where's the bike rack go?
Oh, yeah. Bike rack. The bike rack.
The bike rack would probably go close to the entrances and close to the handicap spots. You could put one just off the sidewalk at that entrance and just off the sidewalk at that entrance. I think we prefer that to be a by demand installation as opposed to being obligated to it. If people are riding their bikes here, we think that there's plenty of opportunity to lock them up without a bike rack, handrails and such.
What do you think?
I'm just wrestling with that. I feel like that if you build it, they will come, would be the philosophy I'd like to see you go with.
If Omega's already a reflection, they're already using they're already riding. There's a lot of people coming in, tying them to light posts. There's a lot of the poles for the solar. There's gonna be a lot of places that they could lock them if they wanted, but I have no problem with building a bike rack either. I think encouraging it is a good thing.
So I think that should be a condition.
I think that we should put that in. And, when we were talking before the meeting, you were saying, that you didn't know whether it was gonna be net metered or not.
We haven't answered
It is
that.
net metered, yes.
It will be,
It will be. yeah.
it will be net metered, okay.
We already have 3 other net meter locations. We have one on Grove Street, we have one in West Brattleboro, and then Omega Optical is also net metered.
Okay. So you don't have to come back.
Adam, it's not required, but will you be putting in electric car chargers?
Of course we will.
Yeah, that's
Bob.
Yeah, the owner is an electric car fanatic, and
Everybody in is, there are several Volts up there. So, yeah.
that's a type of car, Chevy Volt.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
the solar panels that you're putting up, and you said they were gonna be net metered, but when I was down in New Jersey, they had solar panels that actually ran the streetlights. Is that the same thing that's gonna happen
It's
in your
different.
parking?
The actual way that that's built is with a battery. There's gonna be no battery tied to these. It
Okay.
goes directly through a meter to the grid.
Oh, okay.
And our grid is not specific, so you can feed anything in.
It's actually one of the conditions that, I mean, you could do direct feed or battery fed, but the condition of net metering is that you put the energy back into the grid before you take it back out.
Yeah, good.
Anything else from the board? Yeah.
I'm good.
Have anything? George?
No, I'm all set, thanks.
Okay. Comments from the public?
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is Craig Miskovich. I'm an attorney with Downs, Rockland, Martin, and I represent Commonwealth Dairy. I'm the butter to the site. I have a couple of questions and comments. Maybe I'll just kind of run through them and give the applicant an opportunity to respond. First, Commonwealth Dairy is in a butter, I guess, to the west, and a member of the Unit Owners Association. So as a unit owners, as a PUD in the Unit Owner Association, we own a unit 2/3. We're also a member of the association, and the association owns all of the common elements, the common elements and the limited common elements in the park. And so, a couple questions first about the common elements. And the first is, are there any improvements related to this development, which would be owned not by the association, but by a Delta entity? I forget which Delta entity owns the unit, but are there any improvements related to this unit that spill over onto the common element, or into the common elements owned by the association? That's one. Two, related to the common elements, the applicant mentioned that they were going to be using the allocation, the wastewater allocation for the park. That wastewater allocation is currently owned by the association as well. So will that unit owner be purchasing the wastewater allocation currently owned by the association? Maybe a couple of others. There's some discussion of parking, and it looks like the parking is intentionally more parking than would be necessary for the intended use or the likely uses of the property. Is that parking, is that a common element owned by the association, or is that going to be retained by the unit, that particular unit owner? Is it available to other unit owners in the park, and is there an arrangement by which that the parking rights would be transferred? And then finally, who's going to maintain the improvements that are located on the common elements, but that benefit this particular unit? Oh, and then finally, one final question is, it sounds like there's, at least for the southern building, there may be an intention to have trucks, to the extent that large trucks are going to be used. And I know that they're not particularly anticipated at this point, but if there were large trucks, maybe 53-foot trucks that are coming in, will they be crossing over into the Commonwealth land and then backing across the common way to get to that building? I think that might be it. Thank you.
I'll go backwards and lean on Jim for some of the association questions. The trucks can make the maneuver without coming onto Commonwealth property. So this distance here is long enough to accommodate a truck on common land and then back in off the property. In terms of common elements that are owned by the association that this project would impact or need, the only one that comes to mind, or the initial one that comes to mind, is the stormwater treatment in this swale. This swale is, as it exists now, is outside the property lines of that parcel. It's currently used as a stormwater treatment swale and designed to accommodate the anticipated impervious surfaces here. It begs the maintenance question, which we'll get to. As far as water and wastewater, will the users of the site pay the association?
Let me add a little. So Bob is going to own this property and rent it. It's not going to be the same as the Commonwealth situation. So the maintenance of the property will be done by the same people who are already maintaining the Omega campus.
And, well, you want
I just want to make the maintenance of the unit would be maintained as an association
That would
expense?
be, no, the maintenance of the unit would be under me as the facility manager for Delta.
Okay, thank you.
So all the maintenance of, this is, again, just to restate, everything within the parcel will continue to be owned by Delta Industries and maintained by Delta Industries and rented to prospective tenants. I guess that would answer the water and wastewater allocation as well, that would be paid for by Delta Industries.
Madam Chair, if you don't mind, if I can ask a question. I know it's kind of technical and you guys may not know the answer, but the allocation is owned by the association, but it's going to benefit an individual unit owner, albeit Delta Industries. Is Delta Industries buying that allocation from the unit owners association? How is it going to be transferred?
This is definitely a legalese at
Okay.
this point. I'm not sure what the arrangement's going to be between a Delta-owned property and who's in it and how that will represent with condominium association, whether it's another vote in the condominium association or what it is. I really can't tell you. And I'm not sure Bob knows at this point either. I think that's something that we will have to work out.
Okay. And I think maybe I just had one other question regarding the parking. What's the availability of parking for unit owners?
What I can say is this: when we were planning the parking, Bob did mention Commonwealth overflow. Exactly what he has in mind as a relationship there with you guys, I'm not certain. That's another one where you'll have to, at your meeting, or talk to his attorney. But I do know that his intention is to let Commonwealth overflow, because I know at this point they're parking on the lawn and they're all over the place, so I think that's being extended to you.
Any other questions?
Are you comfortable with the responses, Greg?
Yeah, I think that the applicant has responded to my questions, and thank
And
you
you're
for that.
comfortable with their answers?
They've responded.
No.
So, I'm gonna do a bike rack, that's already listed in the conditions here. Parking, let's see.
I just have a quick question. What is the parking agreement up there? Is there an agreement or for overflow or?
At this point, there is.
Nothing's ever been talked
We've
about,
never
worked
really
out?
had an
or-
overflow situation. When Inspire was in place, they did park at Omega before they moved. And so we had a pretty full parking lot. Commonwealth has never shared parking with us, so that's, I think we're just opening up another opportunity there for that.
So anything else?
Well, I guess I have a couple concerns, whether it's worth making it a condition that somehow it's signed or whatever, that the trucks are not to use Commonwealth's property, and that there would be some assurance somehow that there would be available parking for these two properties, so that other people don't encroach and they don't have the parking available. So I think there's a couple concerns.
Yeah, I was gonna suggest that we put as a condition that the whole wastewater, water allocation and purchase be made as an agreement in writing, either with Commonwealth or with the association or whoever's the appropriate party, and that there be an agreement in writing about the parking with Commonwealth.
Madam Chair, the latter seems like it would be agreeable to Commonwealth. That'd be great if we had an understanding. On the former, having signing prohibiting coming onto Commonwealth land, we'd like to be good neighbors. I'm not, by asking the question, I'm not suggesting that we wouldn't allow trucks onto our land.
Okay.
I just wanted to know if they are going to be on our land, and then we can just work that out between the parties. So I'd prefer not to have a condition that says, a sign that says no going on Commonwealth land, since we may want to do so.
And, I'm sorry. Commonwealth is, they have a high traffic flow with trucks. And sometimes they can make it difficult to circumvent, and we're okay with it. The impact we're gonna have is very tiny. There's not gonna be a lot coming into this building. So,
Yeah.
it really, as Adam said, I think it's gonna be UPS trucks almost exclusively. And the rare case would be when we have something large, E53s.
So, but you don't have any problem with an agreement, working out an agreement about the wastewater and the water usage and how that's gonna work, and also an agreement in writing about the parking?
Right, the whole condominium association, what those agreements already are. I'm not savvy to the whole picture yet, you probably know better than I do. And I think the best place to approach that is between the association and let them come to a conclusion based on what they've already done, rather than trying to mandate something new that may be completely counter to what they have in place.
Okay, so I don't know how to word that exactly, but a condition that either with the condominium association or whoever's relevant. You don't think?
I guess I'll have to say that I don't think you should demand that they do that. I think it's something that they would work out with themselves. I mean, like the condition with the bike rack is reasonable. I mean, it should have to be on there, but I don't know, I don't think we can force them to negotiate with Commonwealth. I think they will do it on their own.
And the Commonwealth already has its own separate allotment now, right?
It does.
So, I mean, when the plan was drawn up, it was drawn up for a lot of growth. So I think there's something already in place. Wouldn't you agree that kind of says that there's a way to establish who gets what allotment? Has Commonwealth got what, 2,700 gallons or something a day originally, and
Commonwealth contracts directly with Algiers Fire District. The wastewater from this site, including this property, the proposed property, will travel from Brattleboro down through Guilford, the Algiers Fire District, down to the Welcome Center, the Exit 1 Welcome Center. There it's pumped at a state pumping station, back up through the Brattleboro municipal system, and then is treated in the Brattleboro treatment facility. So this property this wastewater from this property will do that as well. And it's not, and Commonwealth doesn't suggest that it's going to be a party with respect to the wastewater allocation. It's really an agreement that needs to be between the association, which currently owns that allocation, and Delta Industries, which will be using that allocation. And I think it's a reasonable condition that, you know, the owner of the property have the right to use the allocation in order to treat the wastewater. But again, it's not an agreement that the Commonwealth would be a party to be the allocation. Commonwealth would have a rather small voice in the negotiation of that agreement as a unit owner in the association, but the unit owners are, the majority of the units are continue to be owned by Delta Industries or affiliates.
let me interject one more thing on top of that, which is, this is a business that doesn't have water consumption other than toilet and washing their hands.
Yeah.
We're gonna give it a lot larger allotment than that, I'm sure, in the case of any growth, but there's not even washing these filters. It's very low use in this case.
Catherine, do you have a problem with an agreement about parking?
I mean, it wasn't just mentioned that the thought of that it might be usable by an overflow from Commonwealth, is that what
That,
you're indicating?
the terms between Commonwealth and Delta, it's something that I think Bob has to work out.
Right,
I
so that's
I don't
something.
think we should give him any criteria of what that should be.
Right.
I know he has intention to do that, and exactly what he has in mind, I don't know.
Yeah, the planned parking is actually in excess of what's necessary for the development, unless there's some outside user. So it might be worthwhile to condition the construction of that access parking on some shared parking agreement.
That was what I was thinking. And you're probably gonna have that anyway, right?
The other question would come up if we make it a shared parking agreement, which I believe is the intention, and the business does grow where it uses it, are we creating a problem with it?
I think the code calls for the parking agreements to last for, I'm not sure, 20 years or something. So yes, you would.
Or you can they have the agreement so that if the number of employees exceeds a certain amount, then it gets renegotiated? I mean, you could just put that in whatever agreement that you do.
Like I say, I don't know what Bob has in mind. I don't know whether he's thinking of renting spots for an extended period or what he has in mind. So rather than put any criteria on it, would rather talk to him and see what his intention is there.
I mean, the parking, Brian, the parking that's already designated on the site plan, that is, they meet the ordinance, is that correct?
They're doing six spaces for one building and 9 spaces for the other, and the other 24 are not serving this unit.
So what if his intention was to rent that common car?
Well, if the idea is to provide common parking, then there should be some shared parking agreement. Otherwise, there's no justification for building the parking with this development.
Would that not be legitimate to say, okay, what if I want to, and I'm not saying that's what he's thinking, but knowing Bob, I suspect. So what if he did say, yes, we'll provide these to Commonwealth, but there's going to be a parking ticket and a annual monthly weekly fee that goes with it?
That's fine. There just has to be a shared parking agreement.
If that's fine, then I have no problem with that.
Did you get your question about the maintenance of the common elements answered?
Madam Chair, yes, I did, thank you.
Any other comments or questions?
I just to sort of speculate or ask a question about the common or shared parking and the condition for an agreement with one association member. I'm just thinking logistically through that. Two things. One is, one of the ideas here is to generate solar energy. If they put the panels in, I think it would be prohibitive to construct the parking subsequently. Just a thought. The second is, so I think the way we envisioned it was that the solar panels and the parking get built together. And then the other sort of question arises if how do you condition an agreement so as not to prohibit another user or another member of the association from using that?
The condition isn't dictating who the agreement is with.
Yeah.
You could make an agreement with Commonwealth if that was a desire, or if the campus itself wanted to have the leased spaces available to any campus member, then it could be the association that has the agreement with the
Yeah.
unit owner.
That makes it easier to comprehend.
Do we have to vote twice, one on 250 and,
You can vote at the same time on both, just.
did the fire department have anything? Didn't they have something about state permits?
Just
The drafted
Yeah.
preliminary is.
Permit app with fire and safety. No work can begin without a permit. Knock boxes. No parking except in marked spaces, and the hydrant.
So, on the draft agreement, does anybody have any questions about any of those? We're just gonna add some kind of agreement about leasing the excess parking with whoever.
I just sort of don't feel like you should be told you have to make a parking agreement personally.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Well, the
either.
problem is that they have too many parking spaces. If you wanted to, because I looked that up in the code, and so we would have to tell them they have an excess number of parking spaces, which they don't want to do, because they're putting in the solar panels at the same time as the parking. That's my understanding.
Let's word it, they may enter a parking agreement.
Right.
It's actually required by the code that they either have the excess parking and a parking agreement, or they don't have any parking.
Okay.
But that's with the association.
Well, it's with whoever they feel is appropriate. Because I looked at the number of spaces and there are a lot of spaces there.
Okay, let's word it, you will enter a parking agreement. Or not built with excess spaces. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Could you repeat that, Eric?
They will enter a parking agreement or not build the excess spaces, construct the excess spaces.
I don't see a problem with parking agreement, so.
Any further discussion? Is there a motion? What?
Let's see. I move we approve the application with the following conditions: bike racks, parking agreement with the neighbors, or the association, however we want to put that. And they follow the fire department recommendations.
Second?
I'd second that, but do we need to list the recommendations, or you're just referring to a piece of paper?
Well, I think they already said they were already had the plans to put the hydrants in, we
Yeah.
were meeting that
Yeah.
recommendation.
But in the past, we've always listed.
Okay, listen.
Yep. So the conditions are the state permits that are required be obtained, that you get a certificate of occupancy.
Oh, I was thinking of just the
Fire department.
Oh, just the fire
Yeah,
department.
that one they got, it's the fire department. You know, the additional fire hydrant, there were a couple there.
Well, building application to the Vermont Division of Fire Safety. All buildings must have Knox boxes. No parking, oh, that's what we forgot. No parking in any area except the marked spaces. That's a condition. And install a hydrant, which you're already doing, so, and then the parking agreement. I don't know. Does that sound right, Eric?
Yes. Craig?
Madam Chair, I think the consensus before, at least from the audience, is that there is also going to be a condition that the Delta Industries acquire the wastewater allocation from the association.
Yeah.
Well,
Brian's got it.
They shall enter a written agreement on transfer of ownership of allocation sufficient for the new unit from association to Delta Industries.
Yeah.
for water and wastewater. You don't like that?
I'm fine with it.
No, Kat?
No, I'm fine.
Okay. All right,
Second?
second to
Second.
Eric. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, 5-0.
Thank you.
Say good luck.
Motion for adjournment?
I move we adjourn.
Second.
Okay.
Aye.
I need once.
Again, thanks for coming out of your typical schedule.
Well, thanks.